Welcome back to the Clubhouse 54 podcast. I'm Michael Little. To my right, Drew Lockhart. We have a repeat guest, very special guest with us here today. He is winning every golf tournament it seems like he plays in this year. And not only is he the reigning Philadelphia PGA Player of the Year, but he is also our PGA Professional Champion. We welcome Braden Shattuck back to the show. Braden, good to see you.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you too.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, buddy. It was great to see you again.
It's great to see you as well. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah. So we really want to hear about your experience playing in your first PGA Professionals Championship, what that was like, how you prepped to get out there, and obviously you won the golf tournament. So, hearing more about that as well and, what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, for sure. It was my first time ever playing in that. Before I was never eligible to play in our section championship. So last year was the first year I was eligible to play in the section championship. Made it through, got to nationals. So I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it was a 4-round golf tournament. I knew, what was at stake and what you could earn and all the cool exemptions and stuff like that. So you fantasize a little bit before you go out there, just like anybody else does. I just happened to find something with my swing, 2 weeks or so before I went out there. So I played in a section event probably, what was that, like a week or two beforehand?
Yeah, it was a week.
Yeah, it was our first section event of the year. Played great. We were first and second in that one. We played pretty good in that one.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way.
63-64.
Didn't want to bring that up.
But found something right before I went out there, and then I flew out there with my caddy, Ryan, and there was 2 golf courses. So we had Twin Warriors, which was the main resort course, and we had Santa Ana. So it's tough when you've never seen 2 golf courses before. You got to plot them around, see what's going on. There's a lot of wind out there, and it's one of those things where you're going to see Santa Ana one time, and you just want to make sure that you don't mess it up. So it was a little bit of a tighter golf course, if you recall. Yep. It was tight and quirky and some really weird, awkward tee shots and some weird greens. But I just kind of developed the game plan like I always do. I usually use decade golf to plot my tee shots out and pick my lines into the greens. So shout out Scott Fawcett. Thank you. Appreciate that. So it's been really good for me to have a really solidified game plan before I go into the rounds. So that's basically what I was there for. I was there to see the golf course for the practice rounds. And before I even went out for the practice rounds, I would put my decade lines down off the tee, what clubs I'm going to hit, and then I go test them out essentially and see if I can change anything or push anything based off of wind directions, and just keep an eye on the wind directions for the week and go over it at the end of the day with my caddy, see what changes we need to make. And by the time we were done the practice rounds, we had a game plan that was rock solid, no issues whatsoever, and we stuck to it. And I was hitting the ball pretty well, and from the get-go, I was in the golf tournament. Never really got out of the golf tournament, and I think I could have went a little lower, but everybody thinks that and says that about the rounds. Hindsight, there's always putts you could have made or shots you could have avoided, but I feel like for the most part, the game plan went really well, and I wasn't expecting to win that golf tournament at all. So it just felt kind of like a little dream that came true.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to back it up a little bit.
Yeah, I want to back it up a little too.
Yeah.
Your travel out there, how was that? Were you able to get your bags? Were you able to have your clubs with you? Did you have any problems getting there?
I didn't have any issues getting there at all. It was very smooth, and I was very surprised. Yeah, very surprised.
Thanks, Drew.
All of my friends had some issues. My caddy had some issues getting out there, delayed flights, bags getting left in places, which I've had before. I've had some times where they lost my bag for 10 days and couldn't find it. I'm like, how can you not find a golf bag with my name on it? Where is it? But I didn't have any issues. I got pretty lucky.
Now, what about the practice rounds? I know you and I were actually scheduled to play a few together. Mm-hmm. That never actually happened. And when we were texting back and forth, you were talking about your back acting up and potentially not even playing a few of those practice rounds or only playing 9 holes. Did you get to see all the holes before the tournament started, or?
Yeah, so I basically played 3 practice round days, and I only played 9 holes each day because my back was acting up a little bit. And so I played 9 holes at Twin, and then I played 9 holes over at Santa Ana, played the other 9 at Twin, and then I just ended up walking. The day I was out at Santa Ana, I played the 9 and then walked the other 9 and just saw it. So 3 days I just did 9 holes just to kind of take it easy and pace myself. I'm not somebody now with my back and stuff that can play 2, 3 18-hole practice rounds and then go play a 4-round golf tournament, 18 holes every day. That's too much volume for me. And to add to the volume, like you're warming up before you go out, and then you're playing 18 holes and you're walking and it's up and down. And then after the round, if I have some stuff I want to work on, I go to the putting green and then I go to the range for 15 minutes. It adds up over the course of a week-long golf tournament.
It didn't help that Twin Warrior course was like more going for a hike than it was playing a golf course.
Yeah, I felt like I was going for a hike. I mean, you got mountains all over the place around you. You're at elevation, like 6,000 feet or so the air's a little thinner. I think some of the guys might have been feeling that. I didn't notice it, but some of the hikes from green to tee were just like straight uphill, and like they felt like a half a mile. It was long. I mean, I know the golf course was like 7,800 yards, but you'd have to hit a full 3-wood from some greens to the next tee box.
Yeah, 12 to 13 was a hike, and then 13 tee to 13 green, that par 3.
Yeah, and then the next tee box after that is straight up a mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you like averaging with your driver? I mean, with that elevation, I know what you hit here. Everybody knows what you hit here. What were some of the numbers you were seeing up there?
Yeah, I was seeing some carry numbers with the driver between like 330 and 345, which was, I mean, that's just carry, and then it's desert golf, so those things go. I mean, I honestly did not hit a ton of drivers out there. I hit a lot of irons off the tee boxes. So
yeah, I can see that. I mean, I felt like that tournament really benefited a player that was long off the tee and a good putter. And I felt like, that was going to be your winner. I played with a guy in the 3rd round that is a very long player and a very good putter, and he shot 66 and didn't even look like he was really doing anything or working too hard. It's just, walk in the park.
Was that a Twin?
That was a Twin Warriors, yeah.
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 Yeah, the kid that I played with, John Summers, he was a lefty. I'm sure some of the guys probably saw him on the coverage. I mean, he was so long. I played actually college golf with him a little bit. I believe he went to Elon, and I played some golf with him, and I remember it back in the day. I'll never forget it. He's a lefty, and he swings like a double X or a triple X driver shaft, and he's telling me how he breaks club faces all the time because he swings so hard. And I remember I was down I think we were in Virginia, and we were playing this golf course. And I remember on this hole, I watched him hit this tee shot, and it flew into a tree through the fairway, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was in play. And I lasered this tree, and he flew it into the top of this tree. This tree was 360 out.
Wow.
And this is not at elevation.
Wow.
The kid bombs it. And there was I don't know if you remember hole 11, the drivable-ish par 4.
Yep.
He hit an iron onto that green, flew it onto that green with an iron.
Wow, that's incredible.
How was his short game?
Wow.
He was making putts left and right. He was leading the golf tournament for a little bit, and he was just making some really good putts. And I was getting frustrated because I couldn't make a darn thing, and I was hitting it to 8 to 12 feet over and over and over again and made nothing.
Wow.
And watching him make like 15, 20 footers, I was getting frustrated.
No, that has to be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But he was playing great. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He did awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, he was leading the tournament. I remember, keeping track of it online and like, man, Braden's got to make a move here, it seems like. Because I don't think anybody else is no one's going backwards. He's got to make some birdies to win this golf tournament is what me and my caddy Nick were watching. So was there any specific round that stands out with you?
Yeah. So for me, what stood out was my recovery after round 2 and then the end of round 3. So round 2 was over at Santa Ana, and I played perfect golf. I don't think I missed a fairway. I didn't miss a shot, didn't miss a green. I was only 3 under on the round, but I just executed everything perfectly. Made no putts because the greens were a little bit bumpy. On the last hole, I hit a 5-iron off the tee. It was 9, that little dog leg right with the water. That tricky, very tight tee shot. Not a whole lot of room to hit it. I hit like a 5-iron out there. It trickles down towards the water's edge and actually stays up. I thought it was going to go in the hazard. I got lucky. And I had like 125 in, so I'm chipping a pitching wedge. I cold hosel rocketed this pitching wedge so bad. It was so far into that lake, it's not even funny. And I didn't know what to do because I was standing probably less than a foot from the edge of the water, and I'm standing in the hazard. So I'm in the hazard line, and I hit it further into the hazard. I didn't even know what my options were, so now I got to wait for an official to come back. And now I got to take a drop, and I got to go backwards on the line of the flag in the fairway. Now I've got like a $135, and I just hosel rocketed it into the water. So where's the next one going to go? Wow. It's going way left. Yeah. I hit it left and short. And for the rest of the golf tournament, I felt like everybody else did. I thought for sure I was going to hosel rocket every single iron I hit for the rest of that golf tournament.
Wow.
Every single swing. I might have been pure in it, but I felt like I was going to hosel rocket every single one.
Wow. But after
on national
shot
TV.
after shot after shot, like,
No,
it didn't fade?
Does not go away.
Okay.
That doesn't for me.
No, I get it. I totally get it because there's times out there you're like, I just don't know I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing everything that I normally do. And to have that feeling in your head, knowing that you won the event and finished out that round and still was able to win the event, it's like, that's grinding.
I was grinding. It was a mental grind because every shot I'm like, man, if you hosel rocket, that's in the desert. That's not a good place to be. Like, that's got triple written all over it. So it was tough. And then the end of the third round was the big swing because John Summers he was a few shots ahead of me with like 3 holes to play. And he made a couple of bogeys on 2 of the holes, I think 17 and 18. No, 16 and 17. I went birdie, and he went bogey to finish.
Wow.
So he went from being 4 ahead of me to then we were tied at 7 going into the final round. So that's huge, to be 4 back versus all square. So that was like a big pendulum swing in my direction.
Yeah.
Which was great.
You were in the final group, correct?
I was.
Who was in the final group with you?
It was myself. It was Chris Sanger and John Summers.
And how far back was Michael Block?
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
He had a good. He finished.
He finished second for the event.
Yeah, and I think he was like 2 or 3 groups ahead of you.
Was he?
Yeah, I think it was 2 or 3, from what I remember.
And I know at a certain point they had his score wrong, so he jumped from like 6 under, made a birdie. They thought he was 7, but then they readjusted his score when he finished to 8. So he like jumped to 8, and I didn't really see that happen on the board until I got to like 17 on the leaderboard.
Oh wow!
So I kept asking. I'm trying to like look around at leaderboards to see what I need to do. I'm a leaderboard watcher. I need to know what I need to do.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
And they had leaderboards almost every hole coming down the stretch, which was helpful.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to just make a par on the last hole, and I was good.
So after the third round, you're tied for the lead. You're in the final group.
Mm-hmm.
How do you sleep at night? Like, did your routine change? Did you go do anything different, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah, so I would say I slept pretty well for the practice round days and the first and second round. After the third round, I didn't sleep that night at all. Never fell asleep. And I walked to the first tee for the third round. I was shot. I was dead tired. But then the adrenaline kicks in when you walk to the first tee box and they announce your name. So I woke right up. So I played well. I think I shot 68 the third round. Same thing that the night of the third round into the fourth round, no sleep. Didn't sleep at all. And then I didn't sleep at all even the night after I won. I probably, because I was just so amped up from winning. I mean, I probably didn't sleep for 3 days, and then when I got home, I think I slept for like forever, like 14 hours or something like that.
Wow.
It's the best sleep I've ever gotten. So I did not sleep. I tried to keep the same routine, hang out with my caddy. We watched some like South Park or like Rick and Morty or something like that, and just taking my mind off it. But then we were starting to like dabble in watching the coverage a little bit and just see what was going on. He slept fine. I didn't sleep.
Wow. Now, would it have helped you to have more people with you or anything like that? Or like if you had like a girlfriend with you or anything like that, like would that help you to have more comfort? Or
No, it's not even a comfort thing. It's just I start thinking about all the possibilities, and then I think about hosel rocketing all my 7-irons into the water. So it just perpetuates and keeps me up at night.
Got it. Understood. So what would have been the, say, defining moment of you winning that golf tournament? Obviously, you made a humongous putt. You had a huge up and down to win. But was there any shot in particular in that final round that you feel like you were like, you know what, I just hit that shot. I'm going to win this golf tournament now. No one can beat me. I'm the winner as long as I just stick to this game plan.
I thought for certain that shot was on 15, the par 3. It was like a 240-yard par 3 in the canyon, straight into the wind, and I roasted this Stinger 3-iron on a rope, and it almost went in, and I think I hit it to like 3.5 feet. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the shot, and then I missed the putt. So that was that one. I felt like I maybe have messed the golf tournament up when I missed that putt, but then I got lucky because on the next hole, the par 5, 2 lucky things happened. The first lucky thing is I hooked my 3-wood off the tee, and I thought it didn't cover, so I hit a provisional. Oh. I hooked that one too, same line. And I'm asking the camera guy, I'm like, did anybody see that shot come down? Nobody saw it. So I'm walking down there thinking I might have just lost 2 balls off the tee. And I get down there, and luckily both of them are barely into the rough, covered the desert by about 5 feet each.
Wow.
So I was clean, and I had a good lie in the rough. So I laid up there on there, hit it a lot further than I wanted to, and only had like 60 yards. So I'm licking my chops. And I hit the worst pulled long wedge. You got the pin sitting in this nice little flat spot on the right side of the green, and I pull it 25 feet past up on the tier.
Yep.
That's not the putt you want.
No.
So I had a putt coming down the tier from like 25 feet. That putt going in was definitely the putt that made all the difference.
Got it.
Yeah, that was the putt. Once I made that putt, I knew the golf tournament was over.
Your competitors were probably looking at that going, there's no way.
I would imagine
he
so.
Won. Right. Like, they're looking at going, I have to beat him now. Like, you're not going to make a mistake, right?
Yeah, that one took me to one ahead of Block and Matt Cahill. So all I had to do was hang on for the 2 par 4s coming in, and I was good.
So what is your line on that hole? That was 16.
The par 5?
Yeah, the par 5. What was your line there? I'm curious.
So the line was a 3-wood just off the left edge of that far bunker you can see. So there was the 2 bunkers through the fairway. It's the left edge of that.
Okay.
And I knew that like if I hit a squirrely one out to the right and it was not well struck, the only way it goes right is if it's not well struck for me. So it would come up short of those bunkers. And if I hook one and hit it really solid, it should have enough to either go down that hill or be in the left rough.
Got it. Okay. That was it. That was a tricky tee ball.
Luckily, my calculations were correct.
Well, thank you, Decade Golf.
Thank you, Scott Fawcett.
Yeah. Wow. So, all right. So let's go to the last hole of the golf tournament. So you're sitting in the middle of the fairway. What was your number? 190?
No, I had I think it was 214 or something like that.
Okay.
I had a lot in, and it was into the wind, and it was blowing like 20 to 25 at that time. Straight
6-iron?
No, I had to hit a 4-iron, so it was like a 235 shot, basically with the wind and the elevation and all that. So I hit 4-iron, and it was one of those shots where I barely mishit it, but it just ended up getting caught up in the wind where you barely mishit it and then just kind of fades off to the right. I was trying to hit it at the middle of the green, just hit it slightly off the heel and just flared out to the right. The result was a lot worse than I thought I hit the shot, but the wind just kind of exacerbated the result.
Were you thinking shank over that shot?
Of course. Absolutely. I got a little close. It was on the heel.
Okay. So I was watching it on TV. I don't know if you were watching it, Joe.
I tried to watch it, but the coverage was absolutely abysmal.
Actually, you know where I was? I was actually at the zoo.
Yeah, don't let him tell you.
I was at the
watching
Phoenix.
it.
I'm sorry. I was at the
Albuquerque
Zoo with Nick Biondi and my wife and my children.
No way.
I wanted to go watch you play the golf tournament. My wife's like, look, like we just spent how many days for you? Like, you got to come out with us. So I did. And Nick and I sat on a bench next to the pandas or whatever animal it was, and we're watching on Nick's phone that's about to die.
Oh.
Right? He's got 5% left, and you're on 18, and you just flare out this shot right. And I'm like, Nick, just shut your phone off. We're just gonna sit here. Let's make sure the phone doesn't die. And we get it back on, and we watch you hit your flop shot. I'm like, I think he can make the putt. Like, and Nick's like, it's in. Like, it has to be in. Like Braden's gonna win this golf tournament. And he made the putt, and we just like went nuts. And everyone in the zoo is like, "What is going on with these two guys?" Two grown men sitting on a bench, watching a phone, cheering. Like something must be happening. So, but no, I mean, can you walk us through that putt? I mean, and how nervous were you? Were you shaking?
Yeah. So I was ice cold all day, no nerves, zero whatsoever. I was the most calm I've probably ever been in a golf tournament. I don't know why, until I made the putt on 16. And then once I made that putt on 16, I was shaking like a leaf. It was pretty brutal. So that putt on 18 was like 10 feet. And at that point in the day on those greens, they were bumpy and they were dry. And it was a little bit downhill. It was a tricky read. It was breaking a little out to the right. And then at the hole, I felt it in my feet breaking back to the left. So a 10-foot downhill putt on Poe greens late in the day when they're dry and your hands are shaking is not the putt you want to win a golf tournament. But even with my hands shaking and my putting stroke felt like it was like a sine wave. It felt like it was like this going back and forward.
Shout out to Make Phil putters.
Yes. Thank God that center of gravity helps me out. But I've been in that situation before, not for such a big golf tournament, but I've been in enough situations where I'm on 18, I need to make a putt, my hands are shaking, I'm nervous, and I've made a lot of those in my career that I needed to, so I just kind of tried to lean on that and know that even though my hands were shaking and I'm nervous and there's so much on the line, it's just like any other putt. You just got to commit to it, do your best, and if it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in. You just go to a playoff.
So you weren't thinking, like, I'm making this putt, and if I 3-putt this, whatever, it doesn't matter.
There was no chance I was going to 3-putt that.
Okay.
I would never do that. I made sure I in my head, I say that. In my head, I felt like I hit it pretty soft, but usually my caddy, whoever's caddying for me, they tell me I hit it a lot firmer than I think I hit it. But if you die that putt in, it's probably not going to go in. And it was a tricky putt because, like, you got to trust that it goes outside the hole. It's only a 10-footer. It doesn't have much time to break back into the hole.
Yeah.
So it's just like you just got to trust it. I got lucky, I guess. I don't know.
I've seen you putt. I feel like you're a very aggressive putter, but
I'm on the aggressive side. Yeah.
You got to be. You got to get to the hole. If it doesn't get to the hole, you have no chance.
Yeah. I don't mind having 3-footers coming back. It doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me.
So the putt falls in the hole. What goes through your mind right then and there?
I wanted to lose it. And that whole day, this is funny. So my caddy, after we started playing well, for the last 2 rounds, he said, "You cannot curse on national TV." He's like, "You cannot curse." My friend Jeff texted me the same thing. He's like, "Dude, you've just got to keep your mouth shut. No profanity whatsoever," because I'm usually like a sailor's mouth. I've tried to be better about it, but that was my goal, was to not say a single curse word for 2 rounds, which was very hard for me. But I did it, and I wanted to freak out. And I even was talking about it with my caddy walking up 18. I'm like, dude, like, if I make this, he's like, I was like, I'm fist pumping. I'm going hard. And he was like, dude, no. He's like, keep it classy. You got to keep it classy. I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, you got to keep it classy. So I did a little fist pump. I wanted to do a lot more than that, but I tried to keep it classy for Ryan.
Okay.
It was good advice.
Shout out to Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan. It was good advice.
Yeah, but I mean, look, in that moment, I mean, How many people, what I'd like to know is this stat, and you may know it, how many people play in that tournament for the first time and win it?
They did tell me the stat. I don't remember it. Not many, though.
Yeah, it's got to be a handful at max.
Just a handful. I know we've had some close calls with some Philly section guys. I think the only other person to win it from our section was Ed Doherty.
Yes, I did read that. It was Ed Doherty. He's the only other person to win that from the section. So you win the golf tournament, you go home. I'm sure you probably had a ton of people reaching out to you immediately following it. How do you manage all that? What did you do when you got home with, people reaching out about, I'm sure you had a bunch of podcast requests. I'm sure people were asking to be sponsors. I'm sure, everyone wanted to know who Braden Shattuck is now. How did you handle that, or what was that experience like?
It was interesting. I found out I knew a lot more people than I thought I knew. I had a lot of text messages. I probably had about 1,000 or 1,100 text messages.
Wow.
After that putt went in, and a ton of emails and calls and Instagram messages. I mean, I still haven't gotten back to everybody. I just couldn't. I spent probably just on text messages and emails and Instagram responses, I probably spent 2 to 2.5 hours per day just sitting on my couch. Even though I had to work, I still had to work. Like, I worked the next day when I got back, and the day after that. I just sat there and texted people back, and it took forever. And what I didn't realize is, okay, so I text somebody back, then they send me another response, and then I got text. It just kind of perpetuated, which I don't mind. It's like really nice to have the support.
Yeah, of course.
But it just like I just couldn't keep up with it, and then I was getting a bunch of podcast requests and interviews and news stuff and prep for the PGA, and it was a lot. But I mean, it's such a good problem to have. I'm more of I wouldn't call myself an introvert, but I'm not a big cell phone guy. I like to put my phone away and not really look at it very much. I usually keep it on like do not disturb all the time. So like I'm pretty much out of my element when that many people text me. It was a bit much.
Nice. Yeah, I can remember sending you a message, and I remembered saying to Nick, I said, he never gets back anyway. I said, so I don't think he's ever going to return this, because I'm sure it's blowing up right now, but I'm going to send him a congratulations.
Yeah.
What was your prep like? I know you said you went back to work. Was work like, hey, you need to go focus on this? Or were they, what was that situation like? And then when you got to start prepping, what was that like?
Yeah, so once I got back, everybody was awesome. The membership was so pumped. I think I spent hours just talking to members each day. I got there early because I knew like I was probably gonna have to do that and talk to my fellow staff members and employees and members and some of my students, and it was awesome. So they were super supportive, and they were like pumped that I was coming back and working literally the next day. They were like, this is amazing. And so that day, I remember I got back. I had a bunch of lessons, and I had a lot of junior golf. So I had PGA Junior League. We had like 2 or 3 practices. Then we had our Operation 36 practices. So I was doing 8 hours of junior golf, did some lessons. I think I was there for like 11, 12 hours that day. And then same thing the next day. I had junior golf, and I had lessons. And I think that day that I got back, the film crew had come out to like film it because it was PGA Junior League and because I had just won. So, and I think I was the only PGA Junior League coach like in the top 20 out there. So, they kind of highlighted that in the video that they were shooting. So the film crew was out there for like 6 to 8 hours that day. And
do you think that it was a distraction?
In retrospect, yeah, it was a distraction for sure, because a lot of the times they would have me, if I just wanted to go in and print scorecards for the 9-hole event, I had to stay behind the counter longer and do some things so that they could get some good film. And then when I was teaching, they would have me, can you recite that line again and do it a little bit more straightforward, be more specific with what you're saying so that the audience can understand what you're getting at. So I had to it was almost like I was doing like a production. So it was a little tough, and then the kids were very shy because there was 4 or 5 people in a camera crew there. But it was just, it's just for one day. It's not a big deal. But it was pretty cool.
And then you take the next step of going to the PGA Championship and getting prepared for that. How was that?
Yeah, getting prepared for that event was interesting, for sure. Trying to get some practice in at RG was a little tough. So I practiced elsewhere a couple of days just so I could get some good reps in and get focused. And then I went up on Monday that week. And I was just going to stick to my usual game plan, just 9-hole practice rounds, decade lines, the whole thing. But that golf course, you can't decade that golf course. Like, I looked at the book that Scott sent out, and there's really just nowhere to hit it. It's so narrow. The fairways are so narrow. The width between hazards is so narrow. It was just a matter of you hitting it straight or not. Did you hit it straight or not? And even some of the decade lines were suspect because you would have to aim, sometimes at the left edge of the rough. And if you're aiming at the left edge of the rough on rough that's so thick you can't even barely get a sand wedge out of it and get it back onto the fairway, I mean, you're losing a shot every time you hit it in the rough. And I finished almost dead last in the field in strokes gained off the tee because I kept hitting it into the rough.
That's actually really surprising to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, strokes gained is a little bit of a blend between your length and your accuracy off the tee. And I'm very long, so I mean, I'm hitting it 320 to 330 usually, and I would say that's on the longer side. Maybe not so anymore, but it's definitely upper echelon in terms of distance.
Oh, it's definitely up there. I mean, not too many people hit the ball that far on a regular.
I don't think many people know how far that actually is.
No,
Yeah,
they don't. They don't.
It's
They
fairly
don't. They see it
far
on
and-
TV, but they don't see it in real life.
No.
You
And
see it in real life, the ball disappears.
yeah.
You don't. You have no clue where the ball ends up.
Yeah.
It literally takes off, and you're like, I don't know where that landed.
And I literally could not figure out how to get it out of that rough and advance it on, like, even close to the green. I just couldn't do it. I think inexperience played a big factor. Just not ever having dealt with those conditions. So I think that was one thing. And then I realized I knew my driving wasn't good, but I didn't realize it was as bad as it was compared to tour players. And I think that was such a good wake-up call for me, because after that tournament and seeing my stats, and I shot 79-73 on a major championship venue where 9 under par won. No, I wasn't anywhere near, competing, but I felt like if I was able to hit fairways, I 100% would have competed because my iron game was solid. My putting and chipping are good. I just was so horrible off the tee. Like, it was embarrassing.
Wow.
Like, I felt like I played every single hole from the rough. And the fairways were they felt like they were 20 yards wide, maybe 15 yards. They felt like they were so narrow. And there was holes where you would hit it down the middle, and based off the slope of the fairway, it still goes into the rough because it kicks and the fairways are rolling really fast. So all I did was work on my driving after that, and it really accelerated my learning curve. And I dialed it back a little bit. I started playing more of like a cut, swinging a little bit more left. And ever since then, working on some technique stuff and working on my driving and tightening that up, it's been so much better. And now I feel like I'm getting to the point where my driving's in a spot where I could compete and maybe make some cuts. So I just got to keep working on the driving. And if the driving's good for me, I can usually play really well.
Drew, do you hear that? The rest of us are all in trouble in Philadelphia.
The rest of you guys are in trouble because I'm not playing against this guy. I was going to call you a bad name. I remembered Sailor. I was not going to do that. Mike, a question that I have for you is, who did you play with in your 2 rounds?
So my regulation rounds were with Sean McKeel, who won there 20 years ago, and Stephen Alker, senior tour player who won the senior PGA last year. And they were super nice guys. I really enjoyed their time. And
were you able to talk with them? Were they talky?
They were very talkative. We had some good conversations, and they were very cordial, very nice, and I enjoyed it. I played my practice rounds were with I played with Brooks and DJ during the one practice round. I didn't plan on doing that at all. I just happened to be walking to the tee box when they were walking to the tee box, and I really just didn't feel like waiting for them to go. And I was just like, look, guys, you guys mind if I play with you? And you could tell they didn't want me to play with them because they're like, who is this guy? And I get that. I think once I busted one down the middle, like 350, they were like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm Brooks.
That's awesome.
Which I totally get that.
Yeah, I get it. They're bombers, right?
Yeah, they're actually really good.
They're really good.
And I'm
They're
nobody.
major champions.
Yeah.
But did they accept you? Did you guys have nice conversations there too?
We didn't talk much, but they were very nice in the brief conversations we had. So I think everybody was just kind of focusing on their game and doing their own thing.
So did you learn anything from watching them and how they prepared?
Yeah, Brooks Koepka's a much better driver of the golf ball than me. Yeah, I think he hit it it looked like he was hitting it like 340 with a cut, like a 2-yard cut, right down the center line of all the fairways. Just so good.
Wow.
And the sound that comes off of his irons is it's impressive. It's really good. He's just a really, really, really good ball striker. It's awesome. Awesome to watch. I learned a lot.
How about their putting in comparison to your putting? Because we all know you're a really good putter.
It's hard to compare that because we were just playing a practice round, and they were more so just practicing putting, and so was I. So it's hard to compare that. But obviously, he won the golf tournament, so his putting's very good.
Yeah, of course. Did you see anything in your regulation rounds though, like in comparison to say Steven? Like how was his putting in comparison to yours? He's a more recent champion than.
Yeah, I think that those are tough comparisons too because those guys don't hit it as far, so they had a lot less like birdie looks and stuff like that. So I think it's just tough to compare.
Got it.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of two different games.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. So were you there when all right, you shoot 79 round one, round two, shoot your 73, you know you're not going to make the cut. Do you just leave or do you then turn into, hey, I'm a fan of golf, I'm going to stay, watch this golf tournament, see if I can learn something, or just go home?
Yeah, I thought about that for about 5 seconds, and then I realized I was competing in the event, and when I compete in events, the only way I would have stayed is if I had some like really good buddies that were playing still and made the cut, which I didn't have any really good friends who made the cut, so I left. I went home and just recouped.
Did you make any new relationships while you were there?
I wouldn't say any like long-lasting friendships or anything like that, but I did get a chance to meet Michael Block and some other tour players and stuff, and I actually got invited to the Champions dinner there. So because I won the event, it was like this big dinner table. There was like a cocktail hour, and then at the dinner table it was like Justin Thomas was hosting it because he had won it the previous year. Mm-hmm. So you got Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy and Jason Day and Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson and then me. And it's like all at this big table, and there was a bunch more names than that, but a bunch of studs who've won that tournament before. And I got seated next to Phil, which was really cool. I got the chance to talk to him for probably like 3 hours.
Wow. And
that man has stories for days. But he's really nice, really intelligent. And we nerded out about golf a little bit, which was cool. And we were talking about the one ball rule for the PGA Championship. Most people don't know this. There is no one ball rule for the PGA Championship. So hole by hole, you can switch your ball. So like depending on the wind, depending on certain shots I was trying to hit, I kept switching back and forth between a left ash and a Pro V1, left ash and a Pro V1.
Wow.
Yeah, and Phil was doing the same thing. And we were probably the only two people in the field doing that. Most people don't do that. But they believe that if you're willing to do the research to see the differences in your golf ball and you're willing to put that into play, then you by all means should be able to do that, and that's why.
So that's a USGA rule.
No, I don't know if that was USGA, but whoever sets the rules, the governing body for the PGA Championship, that was their decision.
That is bizarre to me.
That's PGA. That should be
PGA of America, I think.
But that is bizarre to me that they'll let you switch balls out in between holes based on certain conditions or this and that. I mean, that to me seems like, I mean, it seems like those who research it can use it to their advantage. But there's a lot of guys out there, obviously, that don't do that. And that to me seems like it's just I don't know. I'm not hating on it, but I think it's a weird rule.
It's definitely a weird rule. I was fine to exploit it because,
Of course,
because I've done my research on golf balls, and one of the things that I've noticed, especially with the Titleist lineup, is the Pro V1X left dash is it's my favorite ball. It's one of the best balls I've ever played by far. But it has one problem. When it gets cold, it might be the worst golf ball out there. It does not compress enough. It rolls up the face. It has no spin. You cannot hit a half wedge shot when it's cold. That thing falls out of the sky. It feels like a rock, and distance control is legitimately impossible. But as soon as the temperature gets high enough, like usually 70-plus degrees, it starts to compress more. It starts to feel really good. When it gets above 80, 85 degrees, it's the best. It's incredible. It gets its feel back. It gets a little bit softer because you can compress it. And it's the best ball I've ever played for sure once it's warm outside. But when it's not quite warm enough, like it was at the PGA, or even when I play in the wintertime, I play a Pro V1 now because it's softer, and then my wedge distance control comes back, the trajectory comes back, the feel comes back. So depending on the temperature, I switch balls.
And so right now, the PGA Championship is that the only event that allows you the one ball rule?
I don't know, to be honest with you, if there's any other events that do allow you to do that. But as far as I know, that might be the only major where you can do it.
If I remember right, the one ball rule originated from like back in the day when you had your really firm balls and you had your balata balls, and they would pull out the firmer golf balls on the par fives to get there in two. If I remember right, I think it's a great rule personally. I think it's a really good rule to only be able to use one golf ball. Now, like you and Phil obviously are smarter than the rest of the field if you're using multiple golf balls and planning for it based on conditions or shots that you need to hit. You know, like was there a short par 3 out there at the PGA where you needed a lot of spin or anything like that?
Yeah, there was one that was, I don't know what hole it was, but it ranged from 124 to anything to 85, 90 yards out.
No, that was U.S. Open.
No,
Okay.
so there was a hole, and I think smarter than everybody else might be a stretch. I think more neurotic than everybody else might be more appropriate. But there were a couple holes out there where you'd be hitting some soft wedge shots. You need a little bit more spin, but then there were some holes that were just so long that you just need this thing to go. You just need it to go. So I just pulled the left dash.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna try that. Like when we play Winter League this year, I'm gonna try that in Winter League. I'm sure I can get away with it.
We experimented with your golf ball a little bit too, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Underestimate it.
Yeah, I went down to see Braden for a lesson. That was before the championship, right?
Yeah, that was probably in February or March.
Yeah, it was in March actually, and we went out on the golf course with TrackMan, and we hit I think it was 4 or 5 different types of golf balls. And, we narrowed down what golf ball was going to work best for my game based on trajectory. And we hit it with drivers, we hit it with wedges, and we hit it with mid-irons. Yeah. And, and I was expecting Braden to say, okay, let's work on this or that in your swing. And it was more of, let's find what golf ball is going to perform best for you. So there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Big difference. Because I could have sat there in the wintertime and in the shoulder seasons where it's a little cooler, and I'm going, man, why do I just suck with a wedge this time of the year? And I could have just let it go and just sucked with a wedge. But I was like, there's no way that I just suck with a wedge when it's 60 degrees outside. Like, that doesn't make sense.
So what ball was Phil talking about that he switches in between?
I don't know the name of it, but he plays the Callaway, and I believe it's the Callaway Chrome Soft. And it might be like a Chrome Soft X versus a regular Chrome Soft, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they have an
the
LS.
Chrome Soft X and the Chrome Soft.
Okay. Yeah.
It's probably the LS ball because that LS ball is pretty firm and didn't spin at all, at least when I was on Callaway staff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about their ball lineup to comment,
I mean, I'll make a comment, but I won't. Never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I like Titleist golf balls.
Yeah.
Brand
yeah.
ambassador.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I like him.
Drew's
I
a
play
Callaway
it.
staffer. That's a brand ambassador. Sorry.
We don't want people to know that I'm a Callaway staffer, but the Titleist ball just works better for me. It performs better for me. So I need to look at the left dash kind of a deal. I've never hit that ball, but it's something that is something to look at.
It would help you.
I think so.
Are you a higher club head speed player?
Am I what?
Higher club head speed player?
He's a very high spin player.
High spin player?
High spin.
Okay.
Lately, everything that I hit draws so hard. So I've been playing a draw in my game, and when it works out, it's great. But if you don't hit it far enough, for me as a lefty, far enough left, it's cutting hard.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work on it, but at the same time, it's like when it works, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed a significant difference even in just my my dispersion cone with it, and then I've measured it again on TrackMan. The difference in spin on a 6-iron even between a left dash and a Pro V1X is 900 to 1,000 RPMs. So, and that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference when the ball hits the green. It makes a huge difference in the trajectory, how far it goes. Like I hit a regular Pro V1X nowhere. Goes nowhere with a 6-iron. I could barely get that thing to go 180 yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you won the National Professionals Championship, what did that do for your PGA status besides getting you into the PGA Championship? Did that get you some exemptions? Did that get you some other events that you're going to plan on playing on?
Yeah, so it got me a couple of different things. If you finish top 5, you get to skip pre-qualifying and first stage and go right to second stage of Korn Ferry Tour qualifying.
Okay.
So Q School in the fall, I'll go right to second stage, which is awesome. And then when you win the event, you get 6 PGA Tour starts that typically start following the FedEx Cup playoffs, and they get work through that wraparound season. But since they're not really doing that anymore and they're switching to a calendar year, all of my starts will be in 2024. So I get to pick 3 open field events, so anything that's not a major or a designated event, and then 3 opposite field events. And this year I think they have 4, maybe 5. I think it's 4 opposite field events. So I'll pick 3 of those. A couple of them are new. There's a Myrtle Beach one that's new, so I'm going to play in that one.
Oh, wow.
And I basically just went on and looked at ShotLink data and just picked the 6 weakest fields of the year. Yeah, no, because
Smart.
I want to have the best possible chance of making the cut and trying to maybe parlay into some status in the future. So I think there's a couple of different approaches, and maybe some might want to play the really cool events and go to Hawaii and do this and that, and I'm not really into that. I want to try and make the most of it because this is what I've worked for my whole life. So not to take it like super seriously, but I don't care if I'm playing in the Barracuda or a bigger tour event. I'm just happy to be playing in a tour event.
Yeah, of course.
And if I can play in one where I can actually compete and not have to beat John Rahm, like that's great, because in reality I'm a teaching pro who competes. I'm not John Rahm, so I think it would be better to try and play in the smaller fields.
Are you starting to prep for all that right now?
Not yet. No, not at all. I'm honestly just trying to get my back to the point where I don't injure it every month. So my prep for that won't start until probably January. So my first event is probably going to be either Puerto Rico or Punta Cana.
And what are those dates?
They're in March. They moved the Punta Cana one, the Corrales one. I think they moved it into April. So March, April, something like that is when those events are going to start up for me. So I'll just get a couple months down in Florida, playing some mini tour events and just practicing playing and just swinging the club and trying to build my body up to the point where I can play a few weeks in a row and not get injured. As soon as I amp up my volume, like say I have 2 weeks worth of tournaments and I've got say 7 tournament rounds, I'm probably going to play 3 or 4 rounds in between that and maybe have 3 or 4 days off out of 14. If I'm playing that many rounds of golf, I'm playing 10 to 11 rounds of golf in a 14-day stretch, and I'm hitting balls and all that stuff. I mean, by the end of that stretch, I generally get injured again. My back tightens up, sacrum locks up, I'm done, and I'm out for 2 weeks.
Have you heard of the, I think it's Hyper Ice? They do a back brace, and it's got the stem, heat.
Yes.
You control that. You can wear it before the round, after the round. It's actually TSA certified, which blows my mind because when you look at it, you're like, you got a bomb around your waist. But it's TSA certified. But I've had one, and they're phenomenal because you can wear it before you get to the course. It warms your back up, gives you stem. After your round, you can wear it. Is that something that are you interested in, or is that something that you have, or something you're trying to work on?
Yeah, so my friend actually let me borrow his Hyper Ice belt and some of the other stuff when I was out.
Tell me you didn't do the legs.
Oh, I did the legs. Oh,
The rep tried to send us
The
stuff, and
Normatec.
we were like, I was like, we can do the gun and the belt, but I was like, there's no way we're going to get anybody to put the legs on, and this is what they look like when they put them on, but they're just big old padded. Now, do they work?
so I did. I was wearing the Hyper Ice belt, which was fantastic. I love that thing. I need to get one. And then the Normatec leg sleeves. I was doing like 30 to 40 minutes a day, up at the PGA. So practice round days, tournament round days. As soon as I get home, I throw them on.
How
and
great
just
was
chill.
that?
They feel so weird. It's really weird. Have you ever done it?
I've never put the whole leg thing on, but I've done everything else.
Oh, it's bizarre. It feels really weird. Like it just like slowly builds up, I guess, the air pressure in these sleeves, and then like one section at a time, and it starts at your feet, so it gets real tight around your feet, and then it gets real tight around your ankles, and then up to your calf, and then up to your knee, and up to your quad, and it just works its way up, so it pushes the blood all the way up, and then it relieves all the pressure, and then it does it again, and it feels bizarre, but I will say, once I was done, my legs felt like they felt refreshed. It was weird. So I'm not gonna question it. It
You didn't
worked.
have noodle legs. You weren't kind of like
No, I
stumbling
felt
around?
good. I felt better. Yeah, those were very cool.
And there's something to that. Trust me, there are something to having that kind of prep. Like if you can have something that, again, if you've got back issues, if you can have something to wear pre-round, post-round, you literally tend to be able to play golf and avoid the constant injury. Like it helps. And again, there's something behind it, and it makes me feel good. It warms my insides to know that you put the legs on and you work through all that, because it was important to your rehab to be able to refresh your body, and that's what those products are for.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, those products are great. Using them before, using them after, and then for me, like the cool part about the tour is they have the physio trucks. Like those guys got physios every day. Like that, I don't have that.
Wow.
You couldn't get access to it?
I didn't even know if I was allowed to. I hadn't.
I would have walked right up in there and been like,
Yeah, I didn't know
This
the
is
deal.
who I
I,
am.
didn't know if do you need like insurance or do you just like roll in? I don't know. I had no clue. Uh,
here's my Blue Cross card. Does this work?
I'm used to paying for stuff. It was weird.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. You touched a little bit about in the PGA national tournament that you weren't going to 3-putt the putt from 10 to 12 feet. Someone told me that you 5-putted at the Haverford. Let's get into that. And that's, I'm not trying to insult you, but it's one of those things where, tell me about the 5-putt.
Yeah, I'll happily tell you about that 5-putt. So
It doesn't look happily.
No.
He's happy. I'm happy, but you don't look too happy.
I'm not happy because he was on his way to win that golf tournament before that 5-putt.
I would have won
So I'm
that
not
golf
happy.
tournament. I would have won that golf tournament for sure. But unfortunately, I was mentally soft after that, and I let it bother me. So, 10. Is it 10?
10.
It's the new 10. On the new routing, it's 10. So, it's this par 4. It's like 365, 370. I hit driver, hit a little to the right, hit my wedge onto the green. I maybe have like 30 feet, 35 feet. and they've got the pin. And the greens, granted, I was told they were rolling 14 and a half.
Yeah,
For anybody who doesn't know how
13.
fast that is, that's crazy fast.
It's too fast.
It's too fast.
It's just floor. It's concrete.
It's too fast, and they basically kind of let the greens dry out. And it was during that month, like May and June, where we didn't get any rain, so it was so dry. And that green where they had the pin, it was in the front right corner, and the front right corner of that green, it was probably like, I would say maybe 15 feet onto the green, and maybe 15 to 20 feet off the right edge. And they had the pin literally on it looked like a hump.
Clown.
It was like a hump, it didn't make any sense. And then off of that hump on the right, everything fed down this hill to the front right corner of the green. And I would say if the greens were rolling 10, which is still plenty fast, if the greens were rolling 10, that wouldn't have been an issue. But since they had the greens rolling so fast and they were so dry, by the time I got to that green, that front right corner of that green was brown. It was dead. It looked like it was dead. And there was no grass to hold the golf ball on the slope. So I roll this 30-footer, and it goes by with almost no speed, barely rolling by, and it just keeps trickling, and it keeps trickling, and it goes like 18 feet down to the front edge of the green. I'm like, okay, that was dumb, but whatever. Let's just put this up, try to make this. If I miss, tap in. It's just a bogey, not a big deal. So I hit the next one up, and it goes maybe 2.5 feet past. So then I have a 2.5-footer. I hit a perfect putt, and it's still so baked out around that hole. There's aeration holes still from whenever they aerated. I hit this putt. It's gone right in the middle. Hits an aeration hole, bumps off line, misses. And again, not with much pace, rolls back down to the same exact spot.
Oh, Jesus.
I hit my next putt up, same thing. And I barely made this 3-footer this time, so it was a 5-putt. And this was after I watched Billy Stewart from the front of that green hit a putt that died next to the hole. So front side of the green, died like 6 inches from the cup, starts wobbling, rolls down to the same spot my ball was 18 feet down off to the side. Wow. So you just couldn't hold a golf ball on that slope. It was like skee ball. You'd hit it up, it'd come back down. You hit it up, it comes back down. So it just wasn't fair at that point. I think the greens got away from them a little bit. I mean, the golf course is amazing, but that green got away from them with that pin location. And I talked to the guys after, and they didn't even suspect that to be a bad pin. And it's tough. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen to the course conditions as the day goes on, so I don't blame anybody for it. But in retrospect, it was not a good pin. The greens were a little too fast for that, but it's not my golf tournament, so I can't
in play,
control that.
when you see players doing that, like there's got to be some kind of like backroom talk, like, okay, this pin today was not in the position that it should have been in.
No, I'm sure there was.
I'm sure there definitely was some backlash on that, and the only 2 birdies of the day were made in the morning there, so that should tell you everything you need to know.
I one putted, but it wasn't for birdie.
That's pretty impressive.
I was the first person to play that hole that day.
Perfect example. First person to play the hole.
I didn't think there was an issue. Someone asked me. I said, no, there's nothing
Exactly.
wrong with that at all.
So it just, as the day went on, it just got out of control. And I mean, you can't put pins near slopes that are 6 degrees. It just doesn't.
That doesn't sound as bad as Michael made it out to be when he was like asking him about his 5-putt.
I didn't do anything that wrong.
No,
it just was on a weird spot.
To me, it sounds like it was a clown pin.
It was a clown pin,
and every course does it every now and then.
He told the story a lot nicer today than he did the last time I asked him about it. So.
Well, okay, then that will be. But to me, that sounds, again, when you tell the story, it's like, well, anybody in the afternoon would have had, and anybody that has a shot of playing would have had a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, the guys in my group 3, 4, and 5 putted. So I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
3, 4, and 5 putted.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a luxury to have that tournament. But when there's $150,000 on the line and you lose a golf tournament because of something dumb like that,
yep,
that is beyond frustrating. Something that's completely out of your control. It's frustrating.
You were 2 under going into it, weren't you?
Yeah, I was leading, and I was playing great, just solid golf, and I felt good about it. But that got me so frustrated, and it's my fault. I shouldn't have let it get to me like that. And then next 2 holes were just abysmal. I
Yeah,
think I
but
made,
it's
like,
hard
a
in that
triple or an
situation,
8
in that moment, to not
lose it.
right. But in the real game of golf, what separates me, you, anybody else from the guys that are doing it on a professional level is that hole was in the past. They're going this way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, you'll see it in post-round conversations. They may mention something that happened, but and this is not an offense to you, but that's the different level of, I think, the professional game of the golf. What the hell's wrong with me? The professional game of golf that separates us from the guys that are on tour.
Yeah, but to be fair, in that golf tournament, there were a few people that were under. That were like, there was one guy that was 4 under. I think another guy was 3 under. So, in that moment in time, he may have felt like he just shot himself out of the golf tournament because of that.
Oh, 100%.
So,
and there's no. I'm not.
But there's no second place in the Haverford. That's the real big difference here. You can agree or
You
disagree.
win or you don't,
Exactly.
essentially.
So, like, if that happens to you, right, and you 5-putt, you're basically like, okay, the golf tournament's over now. What's the point of even playing the rest of
I'd
the
still be talking about it if it was me and I on that green. I'd still be cussing them. I'd still be, everything. I that's how I would have been. But my point being that, again, those guys that are performing on the toppest level of the toppest. Is that even a word? The top level of the game, they get past those holes and they move on.
Can we look up and see if tapas is a word?
It's not a word. I can tell you right now, tapas is a word for like
like
small
a food, yeah,
dishes.
food,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's not what I was talking about. That's just me not being able to talk.
All right, let's move on here.
Okay.
So there are a couple other events that we want to talk about, briefly here because they need to be spoken about. So you win the Philadelphia Open 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, Philadelphia Open at my old home club, Lookaway
Yes.
Golf Club. Golf course, I feel like set up perfect for guys that hit the ball far and putted well. Right, This is a theme here now. What was that experience like? I know that correct me if I'm wrong, but you shot 4 under round 1. You were 3 shots back off the lead, and you ended up shooting 6 under round 2 to shoot 10 under total for the event, which I think may be a record for that event. 10 unders deep for 2 rounds of golf. How was that experience?
It was great. The golf course set up really well for me. It's definitely a bomber's golf course if you're hitting it decently straight. And the greens are perfect, so you can just make putts. They're at that speed where they're just like very comfortable. Nothing's really going to get away from you. And for me as a firm putter, that's my sweet spot. So everything set up really well for me. I left a bunch out there the first round, but the second round I did a little bit better job of capitalizing on some birdies, and I did a poor job with the par 5s the first round. And it felt really good to get that one because of the previous year. And once I got through hole 10, I knew I was going to win because I just made birdie on 7, 8, 9, and 10 to take the lead. And I just, for whatever reason, knew that I wasn't going to lose.
Do you feel like there's a certain mindset that you get to, or a certain feeling that comes over your body when you get to that point right now, just with all the experience? And I mean, how many wins have you had in the last, say, 24 months? It's got to be a big number.
Yeah, I don't know how many wins I've had, but you start to learn like what feelings come over you. You still get nerves and you still get stuff like that, but you learn that like that's not going to affect my play. Once you start to have success under pressure, when there's nerves and your hands are shaking and your heart rate's 140 and all that stuff, and you're still able to execute a shot and you're still able to make a 3-footer when you need it, it doesn't bother you. So like it was just kind of a calm that came over me, and I just knew I wasn't going to be really bothered too much by anything that would happen. I just felt good about how the round was going and progressing, so I just stuck it out and finished strong with a couple birdies, and even when I was nervous. So
You're so humble. You really are. Like, he asked you a question, how many wins? I don't really know how many wins I've had. I've won a bunch of money, and you know what? You're so humble. You know, and I love that about you, Braden. But you know how many wins you've had. You know it. Like, you know it deep down. And it's okay to talk about it and say, I've won these because
I've had 7.
Thank you. Because guess what? You're the best player in the Philly section right now.
He's the best player in the country other than a tour pro right now.
Okay.
He's the best golf pro in
okay.
the country.
All right. Well, I'm talking about the Philly section.
I think technically I'm ranked number 2 behind Block because of his performance at the PGA.
How did that make you feel? I don't mean to go down another rabbit hole.
I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to bring it up.
How did that make you feel? Like, you know, he's playing with clubs from 2014 and has an Odyssey putter from when they first came out. Like, did you see that he had some kind of special game, or was he just hitting fairways?
I don't know him well enough to know anything about his game, but I mean, he's won 9. What is it, Southern California section? He's won 9 Player of the Years in a row, so he's obviously very good, and he's played in a bunch of these events. So I'm not going to sit there and look at his clubs or his putter or anything and judge him at all because he's obviously good. There's guys on tour who have weird putters, weird techniques.
Oh, no. I'm not asking you to. I'm just thinking this guy goes out and performs in a major event with, you know, again, equipment that's not up to date, and he's able to do it.
I think what Drew's asking is, do you feel like he outshined you a little bit because of that performance after you just won the PGA Professionals Championship?
I don't really look at it that way in terms of outshining me at all. I think he had his moment in the sun, and I think that was a really good week for him, and I'm happy for him. I think it was great. I think it was great for golf professionals. So I don't feel bad about it at all, but I know that going forward, I'm going to have a lot of opportunities like that, and maybe more so in the future. So it was just encouraging for me more than anything to see him be able to do it, because I know that I can certainly do that.
Well, like you said, if you were hitting fairways, you have no doubt in your game that you could have competed.
No doubt.
And again, that's the difference between hitting fairways and not hitting fairways.
Yeah, I just suck off the tee. That's really all it is.
Well, you don't suck off the tee. I'm going to be able to tell you, in that event, you may have not been performing off the tee as well as you could have been, but you don't suck off the tee. You're a phenomenal player. I think you've got, the future ahead of you is so bright. I'm fortunate enough to have now 2 podcasts with you where I've had 2 interactions with you. I don't have you in my Rolodex in my phone or anything like that. But
you didn't get a text from Drew.
No, he didn't get a text from me. I did give you a shout out on Instagram, but other than that, it's like, but I look at, I look up to you as someone in the section of 29,000 playing professionals that, you've done some really good things, and you've continued to do good things. Winning 7 times, with your injuries and stuff like that. I mean, it's something that I can say I look up to and say this guy's fighting hard. And not only is he fighting hard, he's actually going back to work the day after he's won this big event, and he's still putting in the time for his members, for the junior community, and it's like, you're one of a kind, because I know Michael Block didn't do that.
He also got invited to a PGA Tour event the next week.
But
I'm not discounting what
what
you
I'm
did
saying
at all.
he had like his boss with him at the PGA event. You didn't have your boss there, that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is like, you're doing big things in the section, and I think people need to either be scared or they need to step up their game, because you're somebody that's going to win a whole lot if you keep at it.
That's why I said we should all be worried, because he figured out his driving. Not that it was an issue before.
It was an issue.
But, all right, it wasn't that big of an issue. But, because the courses we play, like this Sunday, you may not even pull a driver out of your bag.
No, it's a silly little golf course where it's mostly irons.
Yeah. You guys are playing the Bucks Club?
Similar.
I'm just kidding. We're not a silly golf course. Where are you guys playing on Sunday?
Penn Oaks, over in Westchester, PA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never
No,
been
I really enjoy this golf tournament we're about to play in.
It's a great golf tournament.
What's the
really
name of
enjoy
it?
it.
Let's give it to our announcer.
Pro-Am for Wishes.
Pro-Am for Wishes. Who are you playing with?
I don't know. We get paired with amateurs for the first round, and then second round is you get just paired with the professionals based off a score.
I'm playing with one of his members,
Really?
G. Marinelli.
He was talking to me in the golf shop today about it, I think.
Yeah, I'm playing with Gene and the old pro at Rolling Green, Mike Rugg, his son.
Mike Rugg.
Pat Rugg.
Oh, Pat Rugg. I
Pat
met him
Rugg.
last year at that tournament.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Pat texted me today. We're gonna have a good time out there on Sunday.
That's great. You enjoy those.
And he goes,
Rolling Green
I don't
guys.
have my putter. Please don't hate me. I said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I don't either. We're all good.
Yeah,
So I may be jumping ahead here. You just won a tournament called, was it the Zippo.com or was it the Zippo? What event did you just win?
Right after the Philly Open, I went up to the Zippo Open.
And that's
played
the
in that.
lighter.
The lighter company,
Okay.
yeah. Yep. So the gentleman who owns that business puts on the tournament and puts up the purse and puts up the whole event. And he's a fantastic guy, very nice, very giving. It's really cool, that event. It's at this golf course called Penn Hills. And it's an interesting golf course, to say the least. The greens were surprisingly, they were good. They were slow, but they're very weirdly undulating, and the fairways have these mounds, and you could hit it down the middle of every fairway and have the worst lie because they're you might be on a mound or something like that. So it was just it's an interesting golf tournament, and there's so many birdies out there, and there were some good players in it. It's a cool event. That was the first time I played in it.
And what'd you shoot?
67.
Wow.
$50,000 for 67. It's awesome.
You should have seen my hands shaking over that playoff putt.
There was a playoff?
Yeah, there was a 3-way playoff.
One of the guys that was in the playoff is in clubhouse right now.
Yeah,
Okay. So it was a one-hole playoff, and you won the first playoff hole?
it was a 3-man playoff. It ended up being 2 holes. So we played the 18th hole, which is a drivable par 4.
Did you drive it?
I did in the playoff. In regulation, it's 310 yards, and there's this creek that crosses at 245, 250. And
You got that no problem.
well,
would hit it in
I
the
thought
water.
drive behind the green is OB. You don't want to go long, and it's right between a mashed 3-wood and a driver. Drivers are too much. 3-wood's not quite enough. And in regulation, I hit 3-wood, and it might have been the worst 3-wood I've ever hit. Just flailed, sliced it out to the right, and I was like, "That's in the water for sure." Get up there, and by some miracle, it was just short of the water. Had about 85 yards. Had to hit it over this 60-foot tree, and I got it in a nice little patch of green grass and hit a great shot to 7 feet. So I'm like, "Let's go." And I got this nice little soft right to lefter, and I missed it. I couldn't believe I missed it. I thought I hit a perfect putt, and I'm like, I thought that was it because Brian Bergstall was still out there, and there was a couple guys still out there that were at 3, and I thought for sure that they'd make birdie on 18, and Zach Oakley as well. He was out there at 3, and somehow I got lucky, and there wasn't any guys who pushed it to 4, so there was a 3-way playoff with me and 2 other guys, and we played 18. And on that, when I was waiting for everybody to come in, I went to the range, and I was practicing chip drivers on the range because I was like, this isn't quite a 3-wood. It's not quite a full driver. So I just hit maybe 10 chip drivers on the range, and I dialed it in. And so during the playoff, the first guy hit it, and he hits it just in front of the green in the rough. Then Trevor steps up, and perfect. It's a perfect shot onto the green. I'm like, oh, jeez. So I take an even more aggressive line. I take it right over the flagstick and hit that chip driver. Perfect. Probably landed right next to the pin, rolled maybe 30 feet past. So I got an eagle putt. Trevor's got a 25 footer. The guy off the green chips it up, lips it out, almost goes in for eagle.
Wow.
I put mine down to a foot, tap in, and Trevor unfortunately 3-putted. Horseshoe lipped out, nasty lip out. I hated to see it. So then we go to the next playoff hole. It was 380, and I must have had some sort of adrenaline or something going. I like hit it greenside on this par 4.
Jesus.
I had a chip, and I hit a good chip, but it just rolled out like 10 feet. So I had another 10-footer double breaker to win that tournament.
Wow.
And the other guy, he had a 15-footer, just missed that, burned the edge. And then my hands, I think, were shaking worse than I was out in New Mexico for some reason.
It's almost the same amount of money.
Same amount, yeah, exactly. A little less on the line with the tour events and stuff, but I was still nervous. And same sine wave putting stroke going back, wobbly, but it went right in the middle again.
You get a big old, what was the trophy, a big old Zippo that you open up and you could.
Dude, he gave me a custom gold-plated Zippo lighter for winning. I should have brought it. The thing is sick.
Engraved?
Yeah. It's
Dude.
so sick.
Does it say Zippo open on it? Or
Yeah. It
needs,
says the whole thing, and then
needs to
the
be
winner.
on a shelf somewhere.
Oh, it's on a shelf. It's so nasty.
And you need to make sure you keep fluid in there so you can light it up next time somebody comes in and says,
Yeah.
look at this tournament I won 8 years ago.
the guy's you've been a PGA Pro for what, 3 years?
Like Class A?
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years. Unbelievable. It's a phenomenal story.
No,
really.
and like I said, when he first came on, I was blown away, and then I saw him casually hitting a driver in the TrackMan and carrying it like 350, and I was like, I automatically don't like this.
Those weren't casual. I was sending those as hard
Well,
as I could.
well, to me, they were very casual. They were very Ernie L, Freddie Couples, very easy swing. And to see the numbers, I was like, I really don't like this guy. I hope we don't have him back on. But I am so happy for you. I am glad that you have overcome your obstacles with your back, with stuff in your life. It's motivation for somebody like me that's never going to be on your level, but it gives me something to strive for.
I appreciate that.
If I don't reach that level, it's okay because I know I've got people like you that I can look up to, people like you that I can look up to and say, these guys are good golfers, and I can learn something from these guys, and they're local, and they're good guys, and they're representing what the Philly section is all about because there's some dirt balls out there.
Of course.
You know what Braden has done for all of us in the Philly section that play golf, and Braden, thank you for this. He is pushing us all to work that much harder to get better at
100%.
I hope so.
And it really is showing in the events this year. Like last year, I felt like you didn't have to go under par a lot or go deep. Mm-hmm. This year, I mean,
scores are
you got to go
significantly
deep
better
this year. You can't go out there and shoot 3 under and think you're going to win.
No, I remember the Conestoga was the most obvious. Last year, 2 under won that golf tournament. This year was like 6 under.
Yeah.
5 under. And same conditions.
Yeah.
Guys are just playing better.
Well, they just know somebody's on the sheet that's playing, and if they want to do something, they've got to throw a number up there.
The other thing is, I feel like this year last year it was like 4 names. This year it's like a half a dozen.
There's a lot more guys winning tournaments this year. It's great to see. Barbin's winning some tournaments. Bob Lennon won his first tournament this year, so it's good to see guys competing and some names you don't usually see. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good to see for our section, and hopefully that means our representation in the National Club Pro continues to get better, and we continue to get have better representation and have more spots.
More
like
spots,
you're saying. We need more spots. What are we at, 12, I think?
Luckily for you guys, I'm exempt for life, so
I was about to
you're
ask that.
exempt for life?
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about me
Dude,
anymore.
that is hands down a feat in itself.
It's pretty
You
sick.
can play in that tournament the rest of your life. You don't have to do anything in the section or anything anywhere else. You can play in that tournament the rest of your life.
So you're given, let's just say, I don't know, you're almost 30, right?
28.
28. Okay,
Oh, I
he's 28.
hate you.
So he's 28. I mean, God, you have a lot of time, man. A lot of time.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work out for you this go around, which I personally think it's going to, I mean, I don't think, like, to have this opportunity to sit here and talk with you, I think is limited because you're going to be out on the PGA Tour. I firmly believe that you're that good and that you're going to make it.
I hope so. That'd be cool.
So,
I've got faith in it, and if you need me to write some letters to get you some, I know the sponsors are probably reaching out to you, but if there's something you really like, call me. I'll write a letter.
I will do that.
I'll put a highlight reel together and say this guy needs your your sponsorship.
How are those
Sign me
sponsors
up.
going, by the way?
Good. I don't really actively seek anything out. I've had a few friends seek some out for me for next year, and then some for this year, and it was great. I mean, obviously, like the finances of it are tough to figure out, but they've been helpful financially, and I think for next year, trying to find some sponsors for like the bag and the logos and this, that, and the other thing, and maybe some companies that I can do some events for and volunteer my time, and we come to terms on some stuff. I think that there's still some opportunities for next year that I haven't explored yet. But that's definitely going to be a big part of it, especially if I'm playing more tour events and not working as much, because I'm still going to need to make money to live. So I got to find a way to secure some sponsorships.
Now, do you have to be careful if you start making cuts and get sponsor exemptions into some other tour events that you can't then go back and play in the PGA Professionals Championship?
You're correct. I believe that rule doesn't apply to the winner. I believe that that rule of a maximum amount of events only applies for everybody else in the field, but it doesn't apply to the winner for that year. So like I could go and finish top 10 in an event and play in more events that year and maybe get some sponsors exemptions or something like that, and play in maybe 10 events. And I don't believe that matters.
What if you get status on the PGA Tour? Does that change it?
I don't know. I'd have to. I haven't looked.
If
deep
you got
enough.
status on the tour, you wouldn't play in it.
I won't worry about it.
I get that, but I mean, as a PGA pro, I'm sure no matter what, right? Like obviously you're exempt for life. Like you're going to want to play in that event because it's your event.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm definitely going to play in it next year. Regardless.
Is there a champions dinner
for the
national
professional championship? Yeah, there is. I think there is.
So
there's either a dinner
you had
or there's
to
a
pick
pro-am.
your menu right now, what would be on your menu for
share
next
that
year?
menu.
Oh, it'd be ribeye steaks, tomahawks for sure, no doubt. Just give
That's
me a tomahawk ribeye.
Just meat?
Yeah, well, tomahawk ribeye. Honestly, like a loaded baked potato,
I like it.
some rice,
Okay.
white rice.
What about some fried okra?
No fried okra for me.
What is wrong with you?
No fried
We're
okra.
not all from the South, Drew.
Yeah, but it's
Some
a vegetable.
sautéed vegetables
I
would be
know,
good.
Sautéed over fried.
Yeah. Sautéed.
Okay, well, that's the difference between my belly and your belly is fried and sautéed.
And as far as dessert, I love all kinds of desserts, cakes and brownies and ice cream. And dude, I have ice cream every night. It's my guilty pleasure.
I have an ice cream shop a block away.
I know you do.
You should have told me. I would have brought you some.
That's all right. That's okay.
Hold on. It's still open. I can still get you something.
That's where we're going right after this. Have some ice cream. So, what's next for you? What event are you really looking forward to in the next couple months?
I'm really looking forward to playing in the PA State Open, and that's one event that I've gotten close in but never won, and I'd love to win it. It's a historical event. It's our State Golf Association's Open, and I'd like to win that one.
Where's that being played?
That's going to be at Country Club of York in a couple weeks. It's in like less than 2 weeks. And that one, and then our section championship and the Silvercrest Cup are a couple that I have my eyes on. I came in second in the section championship last year. I'd like to win it. So if I can just stay healthy. Right now I'm not healthy. I've been out for a week with my back, so I may not be able to play the Pro-Am for Wishes Sunday, Monday, so I might be out for that.
So is your Darwin technology thing work good at the Country Club of York?
Darwin?
Is that what it's called? What's his
Decade golf.
Decade golf? Sorry,
Yeah, the D
Darwin
right, yeah.
You got the
Decade.
D
You
right.
know, it's smart golf. You know, it's whatever. I was on the same plane.
Where at Penix?
Yeah, no, the Country Club of York.
Oh, I haven't looked at the lines. I have them from last year. But yeah, it works for sure.
You know what the one thing that I got to say I love about you, Braden, is that your prep to me is phenomenal because you don't really care about it until a couple of days before, and then you really hone in and focus. Where to me, I'm an overthinker, and I'd be like thinking about it already. I'd be already starting to plot it out. I'd already started to be, but that's just how I am. But I love how your carefree attitude is like, Yeah, it's gonna work out, and again, that's what separates you from all the other golfers in the Philly section, even you. It is his ability to know he can perform, but he doesn't have to overthink it.
Yeah, that right there, that is not innate. I kind of earned that through having success.
Of course.
Because I was never like that. I would say confident would be the word. I've never been that. I was never that confident. But now I just, after having won certain events, being uncertain and, not being that confident, you just slowly develop it, I guess. And now I'm a little bit more sure of like how I go about things. And before it was just kind of a total guessing game. I didn't have any mental prep strategies. I didn't have any course management prep strategies that were solid. I was never that confident in my swing or anything. So there were so many loose pieces, and they've just slowly come together over time. And as they come together and you get some success, it just kind of helps with the confidence, I guess.
I mean, it's a piece of work. I mean, it's a masterpiece.
He's different.
He is different. He is different. And again, I'll say it again. Everybody on tour in the Philly section, you better be scared. I was about to cuss, but you better be scared of this guy because he's coming out to play. And you know what? He's not 5-putting anymore because there's not going to be any more clown pins out there in these events. So you better be ready, Michael.
Are you? Trust me, I've been ready. I've seen it for the last however many months since the 2022 season started, and he was winning immediately last year too. We're all aware of it. We all know who Braden is. We all know how good he is at golf, and like I said, we're all stepping up our game this year.
We have to
try to beat him. There's a reason. Let's just say this: when I played as well as I did our first golf tournament of the year, I got done that round. And everyone's like, "Oh wow, you made 10 birdies today. You won."
What'd you shoot? 8 under?
I shot 8 under, and they're like, "You definitely won." And I go, "I'm not sure about that." And everyone's like, "There's no way." I said, "There's one guy still on the golf course that we got to worry about," and it was Braden. And what's he do?
Birdie my last 5.
Yeah, he birdies his last 5, and you had an eagle in the round, right? We had the same score because you shot 8 under, right?
No eagle, just a bunch of birdies.
Okay. No, what it was we both shot 8 under, but I had a double.
You did. You had a double or something.
Yeah.
I didn't have any.
You didn't
just
have
9
any.
birdies.
Yeah, I had one double and 10 birdies, and I lost by 1 point. It was
that was a Stableford right before the national championship. And so you guys are going out there, and I'm like, this guy's competing with him. And when you win it, I'm like thinking to myself, Michael's right there too. Michael is right there too.
But the golf course we played, Braden probably didn't hit driver all day, and I hit driver on every hole. So the length of the golf course really has a lot to do with it.
100%.
When you see people that are winning club championships or even winning on a local level, a lot of times they know the golf course. The golf courses are short, so they can compete on it. And just because we can win Player of the Year in Philadelphia doesn't mean we can go out and compete on a national level.
It does now.
All right, but like we're saying though, but he's different, right? And he has that tour length, that tour attitude, the tour putting that goes along with that. Guys like me, I've won Player of the Year in Philadelphia.
I'm getting shirts made,
but I could never have
Shattuck
done
on the front, and on the back it says he different.
Love it.
He different. Hashtag he different.
Love it.
And I'm telling you, guess what? When you start winning, I'm going to start selling those shirts. In fact, I'm going to get them made before you start winning because that's how much confidence I have in you. I'm telling you right now, I can look you right in the eyes, dude. You have it.
He's got it.
You've got it.
You got it, dude.
And if you can avoid the back stuff going forward, you've got it.
That's the biggest thing for me.
You've got support behind you that's bigger than you probably know.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you just saying that. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there anything else you want to discuss or talk about on this before we wrap all this up?
Let's talk about shoe game real quick.
All right.
Everyone's got some good shoe game on this.
I've got the Royal blue toes. He's got some purple.
Got some purple.
I actually like those a
Jordan
little bit better than mine. They could probably. What size shoe are you?
11.
Oh no, I'm a 9.5, so we couldn't swap. And then Michael stepped his shoe game up tonight. You know what? Podcast 54, man.
All rocking Nike.
We do not step away from the shoe game.
I wore a special shirt for Braden, PGA Professionals Championship.
I would have worn something, but he didn't bring me anything back.
You know, I had this for you, Drew, but then I decided to go out and play 9 holes of golf today.
I don't want it if you've worn it. I don't. I don't. I'll give you a little story. He on July 4th, he invited me to come play Bluebell, and I did. But I went to work, and I was in a pair of pants that were just way too hot. And I was like, I either have to go home and get some pants, or can you bring me some? Because we're the same waist, even though my belly's bigger. He brings me a pair of pants, Braden, that the only thing that was missing was pleats. They were short, so they were literally so short, but at the bottom, they were bell bottoms.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like everyone's dad out there.
It was a flood.
And you know, he's like, here, throw these on. And, I mean, they literally – it was great because they did feel better. But, man, did he bring me something out of
I knew I was never going to get them back, so I just gave
Oh,
them
I'll
whatever
give them
I
back.
didn't want.
I'll gladly give them back. I'll dry clean them. Like, they were the worst. And I would think, you know, he's going to bring me something that would be, you know, okay. Mm-hmm. I'll never ask him for a pair of pants again. I can tell you that much.
Good.
If you ever need pants, what size are you?
34.
Perfect. I'll give you a pair of mine
All right.
if you ever need them.
All right.
There you go.
I don't own any weird pleated pants that are floods.
No.
They weren't pleated.
They weren't. That's like I
They
said.
were-
The only
they
thing
were
they were
Adidas.
missing was pleated.
All right.
Hold on. They were Adidas from 2010. That's why. Remember that era of golf?
I do.
Where everyone wore them?
I don't have anything that old.
He brought me 13-year-old pants.
My oldest pair of pants is like a year old.
I was gonna say me too. Like they go to the Goodwill.
They
like
go.
come on. Like
Yeah, they go.
Dude, all my clothing budget goes to shirts and hats and shoes. So
I want to come down and spend some time with you at Rolling Green when you have time and when I have a couple, you know, some time to get away. I'd like to just sit back and watch you do your day so I can learn from you.
Cool.
You know, I'm in the program, and you know, I want to learn from people that I respect, and that people that I know that are doing good things. And you know, I would, you know, anytime you want to reach out, I'll gladly come down.
Absolutely. That sounds great, man.
He needs to make a promise to us.
Okay.
And what I hope for is when you play in your first tour event, make your cut, and do well in that, you can come back and share that experience with us.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Deal.
I wanted an invite so when you come off the course after making the cut, we can hug each other out.
Now you're asking a lot.
No, it's not a lot. How do you not want support? How do you not want someone like me to come support
He's
you?
probably limited on how many tickets he gets.
He's Braden Shattuck, man. Come on.
Although I can get in because I have a card.
I've got to wait another year or so, or then I can get in.
So there you go. There's your motivation.
There's your motivation right
to
there.
get it done.
I'll go
We
and
go together,
Free tickets.
and we'll watch Braden in his first tour event.
yeah, and it say Braden Shattuck on our front.
Where's it gonna
and
be
say
at?
he
Mexico?
different on the back.
First one, I think it's either Puerto Rico or Punta Cana or Myrtle Beach even might be the first one.
Myrtle
The
Beach
new
is
one.
the first one.
We can
It might be
drive down to
Myrtle.
Myrtle Beach, and we can get on Frontier probably to go to.
We're just gonna get in the car. We're loading it up. Sean's getting paid double time, and we're
Oh,
going.
we'll videotape
we're
the
going.
whole
We're
thing?
videoing
Oh,
the
that'd be
whole
great.
thing. We're going.
Let's
That
go.
would be great.
We're paying your ticket, Sean. Don't worry, you're in.
I think Myrtle's going to be the closest one for sure.
Oh yeah, we're done.
Braden
As
Shattuck.
soon as you know the dates, get me those dates, and we're booking a trip. We're going.
I'll shoot it to you. I got to get confirmed that I'm into the event first, but I'll let you
Perfect.
know.
There we go.
I'm so glad you came out and spent the time with us tonight, dude. You're like I say, you're one of a kind, and thank you for coming back out.
Yeah, I was thinking that
Absolutely.
before this podcast. I'm sitting actually right here, and I'm going, man, Braden's actually coming here to talk to us and be on this podcast, and he's driving like an hour to get here today, and I'm like, that really says a lot about who he is.
No,
So,
I
thank
appreciate you guys having me on. It was awesome. I love doing it. So you'll definitely have me for after my my tour event once I play well.
Cool.
You heard it
Awesome.
first.
Got yourself a deal.
There we go.
Thanks,
Braden,
guys.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. That was a pleasure.
Good luck to you, buddy.
Thank you very
Good luck.
much.
Thanks.